sound of reformed thinking, podcast intro music fading. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're opening up a real classic. We're going to get into the initial scenes of a very significant allegorical story, one that lays out a spiritual path. And everything we talk about is coming straight from our source material notes and excerpts from this well-known work.
That's right. And our aim in this deep dive, really, is just to unpack what's going on in these opening moments.
Yeah.
What do these first challenges, these first scenes tell us? All based on the text itself, of course.
Oh, okay, let's jump in. So we first meet Christian, our main character, just after this other fellow, Obstinate, has already turned back.
Right.
Christian's walking along, but he's with someone else now, Pliable. And right away, the source tells us Christian has this central problem. He's carrying a heavy burden upon his back.
Yeah, and the source really makes you picture it, doesn't it? It talks about it being literally on his back, upon his back. It even affects how he moves, his burdened manner. The text calls it a heavy burden. It's very physical in the description. So what kind of effects does the source say this burden actually has on him? It sounds like it's more than just, uncomfortable.
Oh, definitely. The text makes it clear it really slows him down. He says himself, I cannot go so fast as I would. And it affects his family life, too, his relationships. He says he loses pleasure in his wife and children, feels as if I had none.
That's quite serious.
It is. It causes him great distress. He even says it's more terrible than a whole list of dangers the source gives, like weariness, pain, hunger, lions, death, all sorts of things.
Wow.
So this burden, it's causing intense internal suffering. And he feels stuck with it. He says, I cannot get the burden off myself, and apparently no one in his country can help him either.
Right. And later on, doesn't Mr. Worldly Wise Man notice this?
He does. He sees Christian's laborious going and his sighs and groans, sees it as clear evidence of this heavy load he's carrying.
And where did this burden come from? How did he get it, according to the source?
The text links it directly to reading. It says it came upon him by reading this book in my hand.
Interesting. So it's tied to this book he's reading. But okay, even with this awful burden, Christian is actually heading somewhere, isn't he? He's got this great hope, and he tells Pliable about it. What's the destination like, based on the source?
Ah, yes. The source paints this picture of an endless kingdom. It talks about everlasting life.
Okay.
There are crowns of glory, shining garments so bright people shine like the sun. It's described as a place with no more sorrow, no more crying, because God will wipe all tears from our eyes.
Quite a contrast to his current state.
A huge contrast. And the company there is amazing too. Seraphims and cherubims, thousands upon thousands of loving and holy people. It even mentions those who suffered terribly in the world but are now all well and clothed with immortality.
That really does sound like an incredible promise.
Yeah.
How does the source say someone gets these things?
It's quite specific. The governor of the country, it says, has recorded it in that same book. If a person is truly willing to receive it, he will bestow it upon us freely.
Freely given. Just requires being truly willing. That seems like a key detail from the source. And Pliable. How does he react when he first hears all this?
Well, initially he's really taken with it. The source says hearing it was very pleasant to him.
Okay.
It even says it was enough to ravish one's heart. He gets all eager, wants to mend our pace, hurry up.
So he's excited at first.
Very. Which is different from Obstinate, who turned back earlier. Christian thinks Obstinate just didn't feel the powers and terrors of what is yet unseen, the things that were driving Christian forward despite his burden.
Right. Okay, so they're feeling hopeful. Pliable's keen to hurry. And then they hit the first real snag. What happens next?
Well, the text says just after this conversation, they come up to a very miry slough right in the middle of the plain they're crossing.
A slough, like a bog.
Exactly. And it says they were heedless, not paying attention, and they both fall suddenly into the bog. It's actually got a name, Despond.
Despond, okay.
And they're stuck. They wallowed for a time, being grievously bedaubed with the dirt, just covered in muck.
And Christian's situation in this slough, it connects back to his burden again, doesn't it?
Yes, the source points that out. It says because of the burden that was upon his back, Christian started to sink in the mire. The weight is pulling him down.
So how does Pliable handle this, getting suddenly stuck in the mud?
Pliable. Oh, he reacts immediately, and he's not happy. He began to be offended and angrily said to his fellow.
What did he say?
He basically demands, is this the happiness you have told me all this while of? He's shocked, worried about what else might happen if things are this bad right at the start.
And what does he decide to do?
He makes up his mind pretty fast. He declares, "May I get out again with my life, you shall possess the brave country alone for me."
He's giving up.
Completely. He makes a desperate struggle or two, manages to get out, but crucially, he gets out on the side, which was next to his own house.
Ah, so he heads back the way he came.
That's it. So away he went, and Christian saw him no more.
And the source tells us a bit about what happened to Pliable when he got home.
It does. It says his neighbors had, well, mixed reactions. Some thought he was wise to come back. Others called him a fool. Some made fun of him for being scared. But then, it says later, as Pliable got more confidence, they sort of changed their tune. They all turned their tails and began to deride poor Christian behind his back.
So Christian gets left behind, not just physically, but in reputation too, it seems.
Yeah.
And he's still stuck in the slough.
Still stuck. The source says he tries to get out, struggling towards the wicket gate, his goal, but he just could not get out because of the burden that was upon his back. That burden is always the issue.
But then someone arrives to help.
Yes. Just when he's struggling, a man named Help shows up. Help asks him, why are you here? Christian explains that Evangelist sent him towards the gate to escape the coming wrath, and he just fell in here on the way.
And Help asks about some steps.
Right. Help asks why he didn't look for the steps. And Christian's answer is quite telling, I think. He says, "Fear followed me so hard that I fled the next way and fell in." He was running from fear and wasn't looking carefully.
Then the narrator asks, Help this really fundamental question, doesn't he? Since this bog is right on the main path, why isn't it fixed? Why isn't it mended that poor travelers might go thither with more security?
And Help gives a very detailed answer, straight from the source. He says this miry slough is such a place as cannot be mended.
Cannot be mended. Why not?
Because, Help explains, it's the place where the scum and filth that attends conviction for sin doth continually run. It's like a drain for all the negative feelings that come with recognizing one's sinfulness.
So it's an allegory for what exactly?
Help clarifies. As the sinner is awakened about his lost condition, there ariseth in his soul many fears and doubts and discouraging apprehensions, which all of them get together and settle in this place. That's why the ground is so bad there. It's the accumulation of despair from conviction.
That's a very vivid picture, not just mud, but the internal state of someone under conviction. Did the source say people tried to fix it?
Yes, it mentions that. The king doesn't actually want it to be this bad. Laborers have apparently been working on it for above these 1,600 years.
Wow, a long time.
A very long time. And they've brought millions of wholesome instructions, which the text calls the best materials. But despite all that effort, Help says, it is the Slough of Despond still.
So human efforts, instructions,
Yeah.
they don't ultimately solve this problem of despondency arising from conviction.
That seems to be what the source suggests. All those instructions, all that work, haven't changed its fundamental nature. It will be the Slough of Despond when they have done what they can.
But there is a way through it mentioned in the text.
Yes, there is. Help points out that by the direction of the lawgiver, there are certain good and substantial steps placed even through the very midst of this slough.
Steps, okay.
These steps are the intended way across. But there's a catch. When the slough is churning up all that filth, the steps are hardly seen. Or sometimes people are just too dizzy, too panicked, maybe from that fear Christian mentioned, and they miss the steps even if they are visible.
And they still get covered in mire.
Right. But Help does add that the ground is good when they are once got in at the gate. So the trouble is mainly getting there, negating this slough.
Okay, so Help assists Christian, pulls him out, explains the nature of the slough and the steps. And Christian carries on alone again, heading for the gate. Who does he meet next?
His next encounter is with a gentleman whose name was Mr. Worldly Wise Man.
Worldly Wise Man. The name says a lot. Where's he from?
He lives in a town called Carnal Policy. Again, the names are quite suggestive in this source.
Definitely. So how does this Mr. Worldly Wise Man approach Christian? What does he notice?
Well, he sees Christian struggling along the laborious going, the sighs and groans, and he notices he's still covered in the dirt of the Slough of Despond.
So he sees the evidence of Christian's struggles.
Yes, and he immediately jumps to a conclusion. Christian must be on a dangerous and troublesome way.
And what's his main advice for Christian?
His number one piece of counsel is direct. With all speed, get thyself rid of thy burden.
Just get rid of it.
Yes. He insists Christian will never be settled in your mind till then, nor canst thou enjoy the benefits of the blessing which God hath bestowed upon thee till then. His solution is all about removing the burden to find peace and enjoy life's blessings.
And he's pretty critical of the path Christian was actually on, the one towards the wicket gate.
Oh, very critical. He calls it the most dangerous and troublesome way in the world. He says the Slough of Despond was just the beginning of the sorrows, warning him about many more dangers ahead on that route.
Does he say why Christian is in this state?
He sort of blames Christian, suggesting his problems come from meddling with things too high for them, implying this focus on his burden, on conviction, is maybe unnecessary or getting him into trouble.
So Worldly Wise Man offers an alternative path, a different way to handle the burden.
That's exactly it. He offers a way to find relief, to get ease from the burden, but without the dangers he claims are on Christian's current path. He points him towards a village called Morality.
Morality, okay. And who does he say lives there who can help?
He recommends a gentleman named Legality. Worldly Wise Man praises him, calls him a very judicious man and a man of a very good name, someone who has the skill to help men off with such burdens.
Skillful at removing burdens.
Yes, and if legality isn't available, his son, Civility, can apparently help too. Worldly Wiseman really sells this path, claiming it offers much safety, friendship, and content.
Any other benefits mentioned?
Yes, practical ones too. He says living in morality is cheap, and Christian would be among honest neighbors in credit and good fashion. It sounds respectable, secure, socially acceptable, quite different from wallowing in a slough.
So the source presents this contrast. The difficult path towards the gate versus this seemingly easier, safer, more socially acceptable path offered by Worldly Wise Men, involving legality and civility in the village of morality.
Right, it's set up as a clear choice.
How does Christian react? He's desperate to lose the burden.
He is. The source says he was somewhat at a stand. He hesitated for a moment, but then presently he concluded, if this be true, my wisest course is to take his advice.
He buys it.
He does. He's persuaded that this alternative way sounds better, wiser for getting rid of the burden. So he actually turns off his original path, the one leading to the wicket gate, and starts heading towards Mr. Legality's house in morality.
And what happens almost immediately as he takes this new path?
Well, Worldly Wise Man had mentioned going by that hill. As Christian gets near it, the source says the hill looks so high, and the side next to the path did hang so much over, that Christian becomes terrified. He's afraid to venture further lest the hill should fall on his head.
Just the look of the hill is frightening. But there's more, isn't there? Something else about the hill.
Yes, a really alarming detail. The text says, there came also flashes of fire out of the hill. Fire. So now he's afraid he should be burned.
Wow, so this path to legality, supposedly safer, immediately presents this terrifying, fiery, overhanging hill. How does this affect Christian?
He's absolutely terrified. The source says he sweat and did quake for fear. And here's the crucial part. His burden, the very thing he turned aside to get rid of more easily, now seemed heavier to him than while he was in his way towards the gate.
It got worse. Taking the easier path made the burden feel heavier.
That's what the source says. The attempt to find an easier way, avoiding the slough and the narrow gate, led him to a place of greater fear and a heavier feeling burden.
So where does that leave him at the end of this section?
It leaves him stopped dead in his tracks, shaking with fear, completely unsure what to do next. And the text says he began to be sorry that he had taken Mr. Worldly Wiseman's counsel. Deep regret setting in already.
Okay, let's just recap what we've seen in these initial scenes based on the source. Christian starts with this heavy burden, linked to reading a book, causing him immense distress, but also giving him hope for a future destination. He immediately hits the Slough of Despond, representing, as Help explains, the fears and doubts from conviction for sin. It's a place human effort can't fix, though there are steps provided.
Right. And his companion Pliable quickly gives up when things get messy.
Christian gets help, learns about the Slough, but then meets Worldly Wise Man,
who offers what seems like a much easier, more respectable way to get rid of the burden, go see legality in the village of morality, avoid the hard path.
But the moment Christian takes that advice, he runs into this terrifying hill that flashes fire, his fear increases, and his burden feels even heavier. He ends up regretting his choice.
Yeah, the source really lays out these two distinct ways of dealing with that initial burden and conviction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
One path involves facing the difficulty, like the slough, relying on help, and looking for the given steps. The other involves seeking relief through human systems, rules, worldly advice, legality, morality, civility. And that second path, according to this text, immediately leads to greater fear and a heavier load right by that hill.
It certainly makes you think about where the source suggests real relief is found, doesn't it? When you're facing that kind of burden or conviction, which path actually leads towards ease, even if it looks harder at first?
A very pointed question raised by these early encounters.
Definitely something to ponder. Well, that's all we have time for in this deep dive. Thanks for walking through this with me.
Good discussion. My pleasure.
And thank you for listening to The Deep Dive.